It was the summer of 1939, and I was just 15 years old. My name is Janek Nowak, and I lived with my family in a small wooden house on the outskirts of a town called Sieradz in western Poland, not far from the German border. Life had always felt steady there. My father worked as a railway clerk, my mother kept the house and tended a small garden that gave us potatoes, cabbages, and the occasional chicken for Sunday supper. My older brother, Tomasz, was 19 and the pride of the family. He was tall like our father, with strong hands from helping on the farm after school, and he dreamed of becoming an engineer one day. But dreams were shifting that year. The radio in our parlor crackled every evening with news that made my parents' faces tighten. The lead up to war had been building for as long as I could remember. I was only a child when Hitler came to power in Germany in 1933, but by the time I turned 13 in 1937, the grown-ups spoke of nothing else at the market or after church. Germany had torn up the Treaty of Versailles, they said, rearming, marching into the Rhineland, swallowing Austria in the Anschluss. Then came the Sudetenland in Czechoslovakia, handed over at Munich while the British and French promised peace for our time. In Poland, we knew better. We had our own grievances from the last war, but we also remembered how Germany had always cast hungry eyes on our western lands. Danzig was the flashpoint, our port city, mostly German-speaking, but Polish territory under League of Nations watch. Hitler demanded it back. Newspapers showed his speeches, fists pounding, crowds roaring. Our own government in Warsaw talked tough, signing a treaty with Britain and France, but we could feel the storm gathering. By the spring of 1939, tension was thick as smoke. German radio broadcasts blared across the border, calling us Polish provocateurs. We heard whispers of troop movements just kilometers away. My school lessons on history and geography suddenly felt urgent. Our teacher, Pani Kowalska, would point to the map and say, "Remember, boys, Poland has been partitioned before. We will not let it happen again." At home, Father listened to the BBC on our old set when he thought we weren't paying attention, his pipe smoke curling in the lamplight. Mother prayed more at the little shrine in the corner, lighting candles for St. Stanislaus. And Tomasz, he changed. He'd been laughing and joking about girls and football, but now he grew quiet, reading military pamphlets he brought home from the town hall. "If they come," he told me one evening while we mended a fence together, "I won't hide behind books. I'll fight for Poland." In August, the rumors became orders. Partial mobilization began. Tomasz came home one dusty afternoon in his best shirt, face flushed with purpose. "I've enlisted," he said simply. The Polish army needed every able man. Father clasped his shoulder without a word, eyes glistening. Mother wept quietly in the kitchen, but she packed his kit with wool socks, a tin of lard, and a small cross on a chain. I helped him shine his boots that night, by lantern light. He was assigned to an infantry regiment near Łódź. Nothing glamorous, just a rifle and a helmet. "Take care of mother and father, little brother," he said, ruffling my hair the way he always did. "And if the worst happens, stay low and run toward the east. Promise me." I promised, though my throat felt tight. The next morning, a truck rumbled down our lane at dawn. Tomasz climbed aboard with a dozen other local boys, waving once before the dust swallowed them. That was the last time I saw him whole. War came faster than anyone expected. On the morning of September 1st, 1939, I woke to the sound of distant thunder that wasn't thunder. The sky was clear, but the horizon to the west flickered with flashes. Father burst into the house shouting, "They've crossed the border! German tanks and planes!" The radio confirmed it. Blitzkrieg, lightning war. Hitler's forces had struck without declaration. Panzer divisions slicing across the plains. Luftwaffe Stukas screaming down in dives that wailed like banshees. By breakfast, refugees were already trickling past our town. Families on foot, pushing carts piled with mattresses, and crying children. We helped one old woman whose cow had been machine-gunned from the air. "They come like wolves," she whispered. "No warning." Our town emptied in panic. Father decided we would stay at first. His railway job might be needed for evacuation trains. But by afternoon, the first German planes appeared overhead, silver specks glinting in the sun. I stood in the garden watching them, heart hammering, as bombs fell on the rail yards a few kilometers away. The ground shook under my bare feet. Black smoke rose in oily pillars. Mother dragged me inside, and we huddled in the root cellar with blankets and a sack of bread. That night, the radio died for good. Electricity flickered out. We ate cold potatoes by candlelight, listening to the rumble of artillery growing closer. The next days blurred into terror and waiting. News came by word of mouth from retreating Polish soldiers stumbling through town. Tomasz's regiment had been hit hard near the border. They fought bravely, cavalry charges against armored cars, men on horseback with lances that glinted in the sun. But the German tanks rolled right over them. Machine guns chattered without pause. Stukas circled like hawks, dropping bombs that left craters big enough to swallow a house. I tried not to imagine Tomasz in it, but at night I did. His face in the dirt, or worse. By September 3rd, Britain and France had declared war on Germany, but no help came. We heard the French were sitting behind their Maginot Line, doing nothing. In Sieradz, panic set in fully. Father hitched our old horse to the wagon, and we joined the flood of refugees streaming east. The roads were chaos. Carts, bicycles, people carrying babies and suitcases. Overhead, German planes strafed anything that moved. I saw a family's wagon explode in a burst of fire. The screams still echo in my dreams. We hid in ditches whenever the engines droned closer, faces pressed to the dirt that smelled of autumn leaves and fear sweat. Once, a Stuka dove so low I could see the pilot's goggles flashing. Bullets stitched the road ahead of us, kicking up dust like angry hornets. We reached a small forest by the third night and camped under the pines. Mother boiled water over a tiny fire while Father whispered with other men about the front lines collapsing. Polish forces were fighting desperately around Warsaw and on the Brazura River, but the Blitzkrieg was relentless. Tanks and infantry working in perfect concert, radio coordination that let them strike where we were weakest. I was just a boy, but I understood enough. Our army was brave but outmatched in machines and speed. That night, I lay awake, listening to the distant crump of shells, wondering if Tomasz was still alive somewhere in the smoke. The worst came when we tried to cross a bridge near Leysk. German reconnaissance had spotted the refugee column. Planes screamed in, Junkers and Messerschmitts, dropping bombs that splintered the wooden spans and sent people screaming into the river. I grabbed Mother's hand, and we ran, Father behind us, pushing the wagon. A bomb landed close enough that the blast knocked me flat. My ears rang, and dirt rained down like hail. When I sat up, blood trickled from a cut on my forehead, but we were alive. The wagon was gone, our horse dead in the ditch. We had only the clothes on our backs and a small bundle of food. We walked for days after that, joining streams of exhausted Poles, heading toward Warsaw or the Soviet border, though none of us trusted Stalin either. Rumors swirled. The Red Army had invaded from the east on September 17th, stabbing us in the back under their pact with Hitler. Poland was being carved up again. I grew thin and blistered, my shoes worn through, Mother's face hollowed with worry. We slept in barns or open fields, sharing crusts of bread with strangers who told stories of whole villages burned, priests shot, Jews rounded up. One old farmer showed me a leaflet dropped by German planes. Surrender and live. We burned it. By late September, as Warsaw still held out under siege, we reached a refugee camp near the capital. There, amid the mud and canvas tents, word finally came of Tomasz. A wounded soldier from his regiment recognized Father's name. "Your son fought like a lion," he said, voice hoarse. "Took a machine gun nest near the border before a tank shell caught his squad. He's gone, I'm afraid. Buried with honor where he fell." Mother collapsed. I felt something inside me crack open. Grief mixed with a cold, hard anger. My brother, who had laughed at my clumsy football kicks and promised to teach me to drive a lorry one day, was gone in a war that lasted barely a month for Poland. The fighting ended officially on October 6th. Germany and the Soviets divided our country like butchers at a table. But I had survived the Blitzkrieg, the lightning that had torn through Poland in weeks. We eventually made our way back toward Sieradz when the occupation settled, though nothing was the same. German soldiers patrolled the streets now, their boots clicking on cobblestones that once echoed with Polish songs. Signs went up in Gothic letters. Food grew scarce. Yet in the quiet evenings, as Mother lit her candles and Father stared at the empty chair where Tomasz used to sit, I thought of what my brother had said that last night. Stay low and run east if you must. I had done that. I was still here. History books would later call it the September Campaign, the first true test of Blitzkrieg. To me, it was the day the sky filled with steel birds and the earth shook under treads. It was my brother's farewell wave, the taste of dirt in my mouth as bombs fell, and the long walk eastward with nothing but the clothes on my back. Poland fell, but its people, boys like me, who had seen the lightning and lived, carried the memory forward. We would wait, and one day we would remember what it felt like to stand against the storm. This is the story as I lived it. Janek Nowak, a boy who grew up too fast in the autumn of 1939.